Hey everyone, I'm Danny and welcome to Muggle Magic. Today I'm going to show you how to make your Pottermore Wand as well as a box to put it in. And I've kind of been working on this DIY for a while. There's just been so many different things that kind of pushed it back and pushed it back. I'm happy that it's finally done. This wand is actually one of my patrons, Libby, and she actually won a Patreon contest. So I'm going to be making her wand in this video. I tried my best to make it as close as possible to the photo that they sent me. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this. You can check out the description box below for a list of supplies you're gonna need, and any downloadable templates that I have are gonna be there as well. I also have a bunch of templates on Patreon for patrons only. So if you are interested in checking out some of my other templates, you can check out my Patreon. That set aside, let's get started. So to make your Pottermore wand, or really any wand, you first need an image of the wand you want to make. You can sketch one out, or like this, you can print one from Pottermore. And this is the Pottermore wand from the winner of my Patreon contest. So I'm making this wand for them. So we'll just keep this image nearby so that I can see it as I work. Also, we have the wand dimensions. So if you know how long you want your wand, you can have a ruler set out so that as you work, you make sure that it turns out the right size. This one needs to be 13 3/4 inches. So I'm going to use tin foil at first. We're just going to kind of crush it up into a long piece of tin foil and then just make it thinner, like pretty much as thin as you can get it, because we're going to be putting clay over the top of this to make the wand. And I'm just twisting it to get it as thin as I possibly can all the way down. And there, that's what we're going to start with. And if I measure this, this is only 10 inches, so I need about another 3 1/4 inch, and that works because in my wand I have a handle here, so that's probably about 3 inches worth of handle, so that's what I'm going to go with. So I'm just wrapping another piece of tin foil around the back, or basically the base of the foil wand that I made in the beginning. Now it's about the right length, 13 3/4 inches. And now we're gonna be working with some clay. And I'm working on top of this baker's parchment just so that the clay doesn't stick to my table or get on anything else. So you can use whatever tools you want. So I can just cut off a chunk of this clay, and then I have this tool for flattening it out. And right now I'm just trying to get it pretty much as flat as I can get it. Okay, there, so that part is pretty flat. That should work. And now we're just going to cover the foil with the clay. And now the reason that we're using the foil is because it's going to save us a lot of clay, and it also gives us a base-like shape to work with. There, so now I've got the clay kind of wrapping around it, so I'm just going to use this tool to cut that excess clay off. And then you can just make sure you wrap it all the way around. If you see any like pieces of foil showing through, you can cover those up. Yeah, and any air bubbles in there you want to definitely work out. You don't want any bubbles inside. So now my wand is completely covered with clay. And at this point, this is when we want to sculpt in our details. And if you're wondering, the reason I'm wearing gloves is because I don't want to get fingerprints all over this. Because the last one that I made, I could see all the little fingerprints. You can use basically whatever tools you want at this phase, but what I find is cheap and easy are paper clips, because you can shape them however you want, and they work really good to shave away some of the clay and shape it. I am pretty much ready. I've completely sculpted this, tried my best to make it look like the Pottermore wand, and the next thing we want to do is put it in the oven. But before you do that, make a few of these little like foil kind of stands for this, because you don't want one side to just get flat in the oven, and you want it to stay straight and in the shape that you made it. So these under here will help stabilize it while it bakes in the oven. Once this comes out of the oven, and the time that it spends in the oven and the temperature that you have it at is going to vary depending on the clay that you buy. So you're going to want to look at the package and make sure that you do the time right for your in particular clay. But anyways, once that comes out of the oven and it's hardened, you might want to let it sit and cool for a while, and then you're ready to paint. And I used a few different colors of acrylic paint to get the paint pretty much right how I wanted it. All right, so I have painted this wand completely. I didn't want to bore you with all the painting. What I did wasn't that difficult, so I can just kind of explain it. I just got a light brown and painted the entire thing light brown, waited for it to dry, and then I got a darker brown and painted it all dark brown, and then I got a cloth and I started wiping the paint off like this. And when you do that, it kind of leaves the lighter color showing up, but then any little, there'll be streaks of the darker color, and any little cracks or anything are going to get the darker color in there. So it makes it look really kind of like wood, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. I think that, well, I hope that the owner of this wand is going to be very happy with it. So the next thing we want to do, because if we could stop right here, but if you do, there's a possibility that you could chip the paint off, and you don't want that to happen, because then you'll get little like white nicks in your wand and it won't look very great. So we need to add a varnish. I'm going to use a matte varnish. I don't recommend using a gloss varnish because it'll just look too fake. A matte varnish will keep it not being too shiny, and it'll actually, I think at this point, it kind of actually looks like wood. So to do this, I am going to, I've put the varnish in here, just sort of mix it up. It looks like it kind of separated a little bit. There we go. I'm going to just place the wand right there, and then I'm just going to just brush the varnish onto this. And then obviously we're going to have to wait for it to dry, but the point is it's going to sort of seal the paint so that you're not going to be able to nick it as easily. It's just going to make the life of the paint last a bit longer. And I do have some scrap cloth here just to, you know, if I touch this, I just want to wipe my fingers off. But yeah. And we just want to coat the entire thing with a thin layer of varnish. Now you can take your cloth and sort of dab at the parts that might have a little too much, where it looks like it's clumping up, because we don't really want clumps of this. That should do it. Now I just need to wait for this to dry. I'm going to go wash my hands. I'm going to wash out my brush, and probably in about a half hour to an hour, this should be dry and we can continue. Okay, so now it has been about an hour or so maybe, and this is pretty much completely dry, I think. And it feels much smoother, and I can tell that the paint is being protected a bit more, and I feel better about that. Now I'm going to add one last detail, and then we can make the box. So the very last detail, if you can see, on the very end of the wand here, which would be right here on the base of the handle, there's a rope or string wrapped around it, and it's a dark rope. Unfortunately, all I have is this, and this is like a hemp type twine rope, and it's not quite dark enough. So I'm just gonna go ahead and paint it a little bit to get it darker and use this. So I will cut off quite a long piece of this to start off with, and then I'm going to paint it with a little bit of black paint. And I'm just putting a thin layer all along the outside of this rope. There we go. Now I can let this kind of sit aside for just a moment while it dries before I wrap it around my wand. All right, now that this is dried, we can just kind of wrap it around here. So what I'm gonna do is wrap it around the base first, right here. And then I'm going to tie a small knot, just Just like that. And then I can cut this excess piece off. And then I will just wrap this around in the notches that I made in the clay. And there we go. So now I'm ready to stop, but as you can see, I have nothing to tie this to. So what I'm gonna do is put just a small bit of hot glue right there, and then I'll press the string into the hot glue and sort of use something, anything at all really, to get the glue a little more even and kind of scrape the excess glue off, but you want to be careful not to scrape the paint when you do this. And then I can cut this off just like that, and then if you want to, you can take your black paint again and just sort of paint just a little tiny bit over the top of this, just so that the hot glue isn't as visible. And there we go. This wand is finished. And honestly, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. When I compare it to the actual Pottermore wand, it looks very similar, especially in like shape. I'm happy with how this turned out. And I tried to paint it to look like wood. It's not the exact same shade as this, but I mean, I got it as close as I could, and I think it turned out pretty great. And now we're gonna make the box. So I got some chipboard, and this is just really thin cardboard. This is 11 by 17, so I printed the 11 by 17 templates, so this is gonna fit perfectly. If you printed the smaller size templates, you'll just have to sort of piece it on here. So there's one template that's the actual shape of the box. You would use this if you are planning on cutting this out by hand. If you're not planning on cutting it out by hand, then you'll use this template. And this is to be used with a die cutter. I'm gonna use my Cricut Explore Air 2 to cut this out. And so you're just gonna want to use a glue stick or whatever type of adhesive you want to use and glue this entire thing down on top of the cardboard first before cutting. And you'll have to let it sit for a while to make sure that it dries, because if you try to cut it before it's dry when the glue is still wet, then the paper's gonna tear and slip around. It's not gonna be good. So definitely just be patient and wait for the glue to dry. So I'll just start off right up here. So now that I have that one part glued down, I can basically just glue it down in little parts by a few inches at a time. You want to try to not get wrinkles in here. If you do get a couple of small ones, that's okay. Because of the texture, you won't be able to see it as well anyways, but it's good to try and get it a nice smooth surface. And now I'm just gonna let this sit, like I said, let it dry, and I'll let this dry for about, I'd say probably 15 minutes since it's glue stick. Glue stick doesn't take long to dry, which is why I love to use it. But yeah, we'll let this dry for about 15 minutes, and as you can see, it's starting to sort of curve a little bit. So I'm actually gonna put it underneath my cutting mat here, and I might put a book on top of this too to keep it flat while it dries. All right, okay, and we should be good to go now. And now that the box is cut out, I did kind of trim it up a little bit with my X-Acto knife once this came out, because some of the edges weren't exactly perfect. It kind of ripped a little bit, but I got it fixed and now I'm ready to go. First, you can score this at this point, which you would just take a ruler, line up where the folds would be, and then take something blunt like a pencil or something, like a mechanical pencil without the lead out, and just sort of score it just so that the folds turn out a little bit better. Your die cutter may be able to do this. I know mine can, but I don't have the right tool yet for it to work, but I will be getting that soon. So this part might already be done for you. Okay, so I just really lightly scored it just so that my folds go into the right spot. So now we're gonna fold this box up, basically everywhere where you can see the crease lines in the design. So you just fold it along all of those different crease lines.
You can fold it back and forth just to make sure that the crease is nice and in there. And then once all the crease lines are in this thing, we should be able to fold it into a box. So these two tabs here are gonna fold inward like this and tuck behind the side piece here, and we're gonna glue it just like that. Okay, there. So now the bottom part should be glued, and this should be looking a little more like a box. So then these could just fold in like this, and then the top of the box tucks in to the bottom, just like that. Now to get your wand in here, you could just drop it in the box and close it up and be done. But I don't like how it rattles around in there. So just to keep it simple, I'm going to take a piece of blank newsprint, or you could use like some brown, thick brown paper, like from a paper bag, or you could use cloth. Cloth would probably be the best way to go, but I'm just gonna use this paper because it's easier to come by, and yeah. So I'm just gonna roll the wand up in the paper, like this. And then I'm gonna cut off a couple small pieces of string to tie it in. So I'll put one piece of string over here on this side. And then I'll do the same thing over here on this side. And it's protected. And it doesn't look quite as bad as just dropping a loose wand in there. And it's not gonna rattle around in there much either. So if we close it, you'll see, there we go. It no longer rattles. And the box does stay closed pretty much, but I do think you should probably take some string and tie it closed as well. Just like this. And there we go. We have our Pottermore wand.
I hope this video helped you guys in creating your own Pottermore wand. If it did, I have Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So if you're gonna make your Pottermore wand using this video, I'd really love to see what your wands look like. So if you could do like a photo of the wand that you made alongside a picture from Pottermore of your actual wand so that I can see how they compare, that would be great. I'm really interested in seeing what you guys create. And now to announce the winner of my previous giveaway for a Hogwarts acceptance letter, and this is Harry Potter's Hogwarts acceptance letter. It's basically just a replica of his letter. And the winner is Tyler Rizzuto. Congratulations, and I've sent you an email with instructions on how you can claim your prize. Remember, I get a lot of ideas for these DIYs that I do from your comments. So if you have an idea for something that you want to see me do in the future, definitely leave a comment below and let me know. If you're interested in seeing more DIY videos having to do with Harry Potter and more, go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.